Recently, the YouTube user known as Thunderf00t has tried to start some drama with me by deliberately favouriting and linking videos made by a dishonest, racist, sexist, paedophile accusing, child rape shaming troll known as Amit Triloaded and Amit Reloads. This is an attempt to me to get into another war with him that will no doubt result in futile despair. So instead, I've decided to make a proper video with actual content about something we should all care about, because as a mediocre man once said, science and education for the win. Hi there, Richard the Dick Coughlan616, how are you? I'm fabulous. In my time here on YouTube, I've often been criticised for making videos in which I call out and go after other atheists on the internet. Some people have even described it as me dividing the house of atheism. The people who say this really need to realise two things. Number one, if there is a house of atheism, then it is my house as much as it is your house, and I think it's our duty to keep our house in order. If someone came into my house and did a great big steaming turd on the fucking floor, I wouldn't just turn a blind eye and say, well, it's okay, me and him, we've got something in common. No, I'm going to beat him around the head with a fucking stick and rub his nose in it. I'm not going to let people shit on my carpet. And you shouldn't either. And two, atheism in and of itself has nothing to offer. It's nothing more than the absence or lack of a belief. And as a result of that, it can't be the basis for people to unite on. We need something actually tangible, something that does offer us something, someone that actually gives you something, doesn't take something away. There's a hole that needs filling. Now we can find this in politics, philosophy, various other forms of art, or activism of some kind. If Joseph Stalin was alive today and doing the things he did, we wouldn't be sitting here going, well, it's okay, we won't mention this because, me and him, we don't believe in God. Now, before anyone says anything, I'm not saying that atheism was his motivation, but the bottom line is he was an atheist and he committed horrid atrocities. That just shows that there's no monopoly. It doesn't mean you're going to be a nice person. Jeffrey Dahmer killed and ate 17 people. I don't think a lack of theism can somehow compensate for that. At the end of the day, if you're going to dismember, cook and eat a 13-year-old boy's penis, you should be treated with a little bit of disdain. I'm an atheist, but I'm also a human being, first and foremost, and I believe in fairness, justice and equality for everybody, no matter even if I find their beliefs disagreeable or even abhorrent. This brings me on to a little-known but a rather interesting organisation in America called the Black Atheists of Atlanta. The Black Atheists of Atlanta have a little show which they broadcast from Georgia. Now, I'm all in favour of atheists speaking out, and I think it's important that whatever our beliefs or whatever people we are, we should be comfortable in speaking out and being who we are publicly, and certainly shows like the Atheist Experience have shown that public access is a great way to do this. However, it appears that the hosts of this show, KD and Black Sun, have some rather unpleasant opinions when it comes to various subjects, primarily homosexuality and trusting anything that white people say. Now, I'm not a white person, but I do play one on the internet, and I'm hoping that KD and Black Sun will look at me, see this, and be distracted enough that they might just give me a chance and hear me out. Right, Home Slice? Now, I've left a link to the show I'm going to be referencing in the Gooch Bar, and you can check it out yourself. I've always left a link to their Facebook and their main website, so you can go and send them a nice little message. Hi, from me. But now, I'm just going to go through and skim over some of the immense dipshittery that these guys are involved in. At the 5-minute 53 mark, the host, KD, says, and I quote, he says that homosexuality is not a traditional African custom, rather it is a European Greco-Roman social custom. Black Sun agrees and says that homosexuality is selfish, and it's all about me, me, me. I do find the idea of complaining that homosexuality is selfish rather unusual. I mean, I've been a fully sexually active heterosexual man for about 20 years, and in all that time, I can honestly say I don't think I've ever once had a hard-on that I could describe as 100% altruistic. Sorry, girls. As for rampant bum sex being more of a European thing than an African, really? You think that, man-on-man, full-on action did not occur? You think that homosexual loving did not take place until white men came along and suddenly moved to France? Now, I hate the French as any self-respecting British person does, but at the end of the day, that sounds a little bit too far-fetched to me. At the 8-minute mark, Black Sun says that he's against homosexuality from a scientific viewpoint because it violates the law of reproduction. Now, this would be a very valid objection for him to bring up, apart from one tiny little thing that's a bit inconvenient: there is no such thing as the law of reproduction. Apart from that, very good point. You can't just make up scientific laws when you want to. It's not how it works. It's like a gay man claiming that any other gay man who doesn't use lubricant for anal sex is violating Santorum's law. At 11:40, KD says that homosexuality is purely sex-based, implying that love doesn't play any role in the relationship. Now, I'm pretty sure that KD is familiar with urban hip-hop and rap culture, and the fact is hip-hop music does, on occasion, tend to paint a somewhat shallow attitude towards male and female relations, such as pimpin' bitches and hoes. If I may quote the 100% not gay Little John, to the window, to the wall, to the sweat drips from my balls. It's hardly "How can I compare thee to a summer's day" by Shakespeare, is it? I wouldn't be whispering that into my loved one's earhole. I've also just realised that it's interesting, the host is called KD, and the only other person who has ever been known for having the first name KD is a lesbian white pop singer. God hates you. KD then goes on to say that homosexuals are hiding behind atheism to justify what they do, and it's false. Which is immensely ironic, because I was going to say the exact same thing about you fuckers. Now, it is true that many people use this emerging atheist movement as a way of sort of trying to gateway people into trusting and listening to them, and then just sort of slipping in their own nefarious and underhanded agenda into it, not mentioning any Condells. Names, sorry. In fact, KD, you might argue that the reason gay people might be attracted to atheism is because, to be fair, they've been given a bit of a shoddy treatment by the religious people, haven't they? Of all sorts and varieties. And interestingly, the same treatment that you're giving them now. Right, bullshit. But then KD tops himself by saying, and I quote, "For Africans to embrace European social customs is genocide." I've been down this road before. I've had this conversation, but it was a little bit lighter. Really, KD? Embracing a culture is genocide? You do realise that what you have just said there is something that you would have the full support of every lunatic Nazi white supremacist fucking nutter on the planet? How does it feel to know that you, as a black man, are in full agreement with David Duke's ideology? I've heard of sleeping with the enemy, but when a black man is endorsing ideas that are espoused by people who would love nothing more than to see you hanging from a tree, that's fucking insanity, my friend. And also, I hate to say this argument, this might sound a bit hack, but if you love African culture so much, mate, fuck off to Africa. No one's keeping you here. Seriously. I think the reason you stay here is because whilst you like African culture more, you like the little perks that come with, you know, European first world culture, you know, all those little things that you probably wouldn't have if you went back to Africa, you know, because you're a little bit shallow, ain't you? Now, this is because the Black Atheists of Atlanta are actually a black nationalist group. They promote black nationalism. Now, I think nationalism is a bad idea in general, but when you are in a majority white country, and you are a minority black people in that country, to be a black nationalist, that's lunacy of which I can't do. You'd need 12 moons in the sky to fucking get that crazy. Later on, somebody actually calls in the show and says that there is actually a scientific genetic basis for homosexuality. This is how the conversation went. KD responded by saying, "Those scientists were white, weren't they?" The caller said, "Why does that matter?" And KD says, "It matters to me because I'm black. If you're not careful, even science can be racist." He then went on to say, "I don't want to talk to scientists, your motherfuckers are lying and getting me pissed. Fucking homos, how do they work?" Now, let's say that KD is right and that white scientists are the biggest bunch of racist motherfuckers on planet Earth. What does that have to do with their findings in regards to homosexuality? Being racist doesn't equal pro-gay, unless you sort of think that white people are more likely to be gay or are all secretly gay, or want everybody to be gay. Science, KD, cannot be racist. Scientists can be racist, and when those scientists allow their prejudice and their personal views to interfere and alter the conclusions and the findings they have, guess what? It's not science anymore, mate. That's called propaganda. Plus, KD, you do realise, don't you, that it is mainstream peer-reviewed scientific consensus that actually refutes all of the claims made by your opposing white brethren who like to think that you guys are genetically inferior to the white race. You do realise that, don't you? That this racist white agenda is making white people who are racist wrong and promoting gay people? Can you please explain how that makes any sense? And I'll give you $100 million if you answer it coherently. Both of them then go on to state that whilst they have these opinions, they would never ever discriminate against gay people in any way. And they prove that they are very, very tolerant, in fact, by stating that they would, and I quote, "They would not go and hit a gay person over the head with a baseball bat." Because, as you all know, not hitting people over the head with a baseball bat is the gold fucking standard of tolerance. I mean, that is tolerance. I mean, hatred, bigotry, misinformation, propaganda, lies, distortion, and pseudoscience, and fucking complete idiocy. All these things are great. Hatred is fine. Irrationality and complete blind prejudice are good, as long as they don't manifest themselves with baseball bats being hit over people's skulls. Now, many atheists out there are probably thinking this is all very disappointing and that these guys are making atheists look bad. I disagree. I'm an atheist and I'm not going to let these fuckers taint my reputation just because I happen to share one thing in common with them. But if you do feel that way, then here's an idea. Maybe you should stop trying to make atheism into something that it's not. Stop trying to make it into an actual thing, because there is nothing there for us to make out of. However, what you can also do, if you still feel that way and you don't want to go down that road, all you've got to make sure is every time you hear or see another atheist saying something this incredibly fucking stupid, just make sure you stand up, let your voice heard, let yourself be known and say, "Oi, shut it, you stupid fucking slag." Don't look at it as dividing a house, consider it a bit of spring cleaning. Richard the Dick Coughlan616, good night, may God be less. Fight the power.